celebrating your favorite Pokemon because they say truly skilled trainers should win with their favorites, and this month some of us will be feasting plenty. Soon, people will be stuffing their faces with an assortment of foods to celebrate a vast variety of holidays. So what better time is there to talk about the Pokemon that eats over 880 pounds of food than now? Snorlax! Ever since Generation 1, Snorlax has been here, blocking routes, eating food, and being the living beanbag we've always wanted. But what makes Snorlax so powerful, so lovable, and their stomach so strong? Because Snorlax can eat the living biohazard muck as if it were just a pepper. It is known as one of the strongest Gigantamax Pokemon, and all it does is sleep and eat. So it's time to crack down and study everything about Snorlax and how we can harness the power of sleep. Hi there, I'm Acrylic, and let's go over quickly what we are covering today with Snorlax. We are going to talk about its basic info, what it's based on, alternate forms, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty of its Dynamax, its ability to eat anything without fear, how its sleep affects others, and how all of this actually makes sense in real-life scientific terms. As previously stated, Snorlax has been around since Generation Uno. He spent all these years going from laying down, flailing a bit, giving up, then finally working up the courage to stand back up again. Never give up. Progress is progress. Give me the Mr. Incredible meme. Progress is progress. And the next bit of info, as always, I source from Bulbapedia as I then expand on it. Snorlax is often found in mountains and forests. It wakes up only to eat, requiring 900 pounds or 400 kilograms of food per day before returning to its slumber, although it can also eat while it's resting. So this bad boy is dead asleep, reaches over, grabs the poor Pachirisu that climbed down from the tree, and it's just gone. And to reinforce that, it is not a picky eater. Its stomach is so strong that it allows it to even eat moldy food without feeling any ill effects. It can even handle thorny plants or Muck's poison, which Muck's poison is incredibly important later, which we'll expand on. But thorny plants are also what can process thorny plants? Hold on. So one example apparently is that camels' mouths are very tough and leathery, so they can basically eat any type of tough, dried, or thorny plants, usually found growing in deserts. We can find this in a number of other different creatures. I mean, even if we look at sea turtles, their throats are like spines on the inside, tearing apart a jellyfish as it swallows them. That is horrifying, and I'm amazed that I have not seen any turtle horror yet. Though despite all of this, modern-day Snorlax is docile enough to allow children and small Pokemon to bounce on its large stomach, or sleep on it. Despite its apparent laziness, however, Snorlax can exhibit tremendous power when prompted. Snorlax is known to appear without warnings in villages and steal their food supplies, such as rice granaries, which has long been considered a disaster whenever it happens. This was stated primarily in the past, something for Pokemon Legends Arceus. So, yeah, Snorlax can be incredibly devastating. Oh, who would have guessed? A giant mountainous Pokemon that eats all the food when it's incredibly hard to grow waltzes in as a walking disaster. Professor Neroli does research on Snorlax, particularly on their ability to attract Pokemon around them to sleep. A lot of Pokemon tend to gather around Snorlax to sleep near it or on it. And that is from Pokemon Sleep, which I loved playing. It was great, it was simple, very cute. I just stopped playing it, and it just happened, you know what I mean? And I missed my sweet baby Suicune events. I know I could go back and get it, but I'm lazy. I'm way too lazy to go back, download it, and then remember to do that every night when I already know I get good sleep. It's a very good tool, I'll say. So let's get into Snorlax's origins and what it's based on next. Snorlax's appearance and behavior of constantly eating and sleeping were directly inspired by Game Freak planner Koji Nishino. I feel terrible because that is a widespread thing, and I don't know. I don't know the culture at the time and how that was. I can only assume it was done in good jest, and we don't need to feel bad. But man, that is, I mean, everyone loves Snorlax, so, you know, why take it as an insult? Additionally, Snorlax may be loosely based on hibernating bears or teddy bears. It may also be based on a food coma, as it eats large quantities of food, then takes a nap, both of which are symptomatic of the condition. You know, of course, something that you're gonna expect to do around a certain couple of holidays this year. Finally, let's get into its name origin. Snorlax is a combination of snore and lax, or lackadaisical. It was reportedly derived from Esquilax, the name of a non-existent medieval creature described in The Simpsons episode Lisa's Wedding. Snorlax may also involve relax. So of course, once again, Simpsons did it first. Everything's a Simpsons reference, which also means everything's a JoJo's reference. It literally goes, Pokemon, everything in Pokemon is a JoJo's reference. Everything in JoJo's is a Simpsons reference. That's it. Its Japanese name, Kabigon, is derived from Kirby, Kabe. So we have that wonderful little pink ball of absolute multiversal destruction. The cutest little puff ball of sheer joy, where anytime it makes such a cute little noise, opens its mouth and makes a sound, it brings joy and love to everybody's mind and heart. Serotonin go burr. But at the same time, that thing can destroy, I don't know, an entire planet with a frying pan with almost no effort. So, yeah. That is what Snorlax is based on. In an interview with Game Informer, Junichi Masuda stated that Koji Nishino, the main inspiration for Snorlax, used to be called Kirby during the development of Pokemon Red and Green because of his large appetite. Honestly, I feel that. I am a big eater without a doubt in my mind. I exercise a lot. I love it. I love to eat large quantities of food. I'm trying to rein it back a little bit because I want to be healthier. I mean, even if I exercise all the time, oh boy, let me tell you something. You can still eat too much even if you exercise a bunch, and not because of weight or anything like that, literally just your heart, your organs. You have to process the food after all. Kabigon may also involve Kabi, mold, noting the fact that Snorlax will eat anything, even moldy food, as we have discussed. And we may as well look at Snorlax's Z move, Pulverizing Pancake. Otherwise, its direct translation is Go! All Out Attack! For once, the English translation actually won with the best name. It doesn't always do that. And this is the perfect example of Snorlax goes from that sleeping, gentle giant to an absolute demon running like a train, 10,000 miles per hour exaggeration, to smash the opponent. It will drop on you from the top rung, baby. Which, honestly, if you think that's not possible, I want you to look at some football players. I am not a sports ball player in the slightest, but at the same time, when you look at certain football players, they are backed like fridges. They are big people, and let me tell you, they can run like nobody's business. They are sprinters, short distance, full force, 300 pounds. There's literally one called the Fridge. Next, we get up into its alternate form. It's Gigantamax. As Gigantamax Snorlax, seeds and small pebbles that were tangled in its belly fur go through immense growth, causing patches of grass, bushes, rocks, and a large tree to spout upon its belly. The tree has 3 red clouds circling it. The berries that grow on Gigantamax Snorlax's tree includes a citrus berry, a magos berry, and a haban berry. Gigantamax Snorlax almost never moves, even when in battle, only slightly lifting its body, and attacks by flailing with its arms and legs. It is no better than a Magikarp on land at that point, at least visually. However, its attacks are powerful. Gigantamax Snorlax is considered to be one of the strongest Dynamax Pokemon to have been discovered. Latent energy deep within its body. Its signature move, G-Max Replenish, inflicts damage and has a 50% chance of restoring any berries consumed by the user or its allies. Though, if we translate that name directly from Japanese, we get something called Kyodai Regeneration. Now, that's a really weird word, Kyodai. You know, when you direct translate something, you'd expect to get, I don't know, Aki for like autumn, which I also think means red. But in this case, we just get something called Kyodai. So what does Kyodai even mean? Kyodai can refer to one of 3 things. A high-ranking member of the Yakuza, accountable to the Shate Gashira, which absolutely is not the case. I'm just gonna say that now. Typically don't talk about the Yakuza, to say the least, in Japan. It's just, you just don't. The second option is Kyoto University, Kyoto Daigaku, a public research university located in Kyoto, Japan. It's possible, I wouldn't say it wouldn't be. And then the third being the leader of a gang referred to as the Big Brother. So, while I would like to assume, or we might want to assume, that it is not going to refer to a gang, it is still potentially based on Big Brother. It is probably the most culturally appropriate while also making the most sense, as Snorlax acts as a big brother to other Pokemon, allowing them to jump on their stomach, even allowing small kids to do the same thing, and allowing anybody to sleep near Snorlax. Now, I wanted to look into the potential of Snorlax being attached to Yggdrasil, the Tree of Life, but it doesn't quite seem to line up, but I'll at least give you this, that way we can determine that together. The world tree, Yggdrasil, was a great ash tree that was a central figure in Norse cosmology, the site where gods would make councils and where the first human laws were created. Later, it played a central role in the story of Odin and even appears at Ragnarok. Yggdrasil is sometimes also known as the Tree of Life, the center of the 9 worlds, and the pole of the earth. Other names were given to Yggdrasil in Norse mythology, including Holdmimis, Holt, Mimadir, and Leror. The ash tree is quite important to ancient Norse mythology, according to the poem Voluspo, or Wise Men's Prophecy. The first humans were Ask and Embla, the Norse words for ash and elm. They were given souls, heat, knowledge, sense, and health. From under the tree came Norns, maidens, mighty in wisdom, who gave the people law and order. Under the tree also dwelled the dragon, Nidhogg, the Dreadbiter, who would gnaw at the tree's roots, bringing the destructive elements of the universe to the 9 worlds. The European ash, or Fraxinus excelsior, oh, that just hit me in a spot, rest in peace, Stanley, is quite a mundane tree, found all over Europe. While it desires a lot of water to grow, it grows rapidly and becomes a tall tree in only a decade. Because of its flexibility, shock resistance, and difficulty to split, the wood from this tree's branches is perfect for the hands of tools and weapons. Even today, it is used for snooker cues? That sounds like a bad word. And tennis rackets. This fast-growing tree's useful nature offers a possible reason why it was chosen as Odin's special plant and the center of the universe. Long story short, it represents life, death, and rebirth, and the most fitting version of that would be Xerneas, of course. Now, there's so much more to Yggdrasil than this, so if you want to learn more, go ahead and go back to the source of History Cooperative, Yggdrasil, the Norse Tree of Life, which is what my source is from. So Snorlax and his Gigantamax form are pretty cool, especially when you kind of correlate them in some capacity. The idea that Snorlax is this all-eating creature, does not stop to eat, it just keeps going, stuffing its face like the moving black hole that it is. And then now it becomes its Gigantamax form, which, with its special move, is actually able to replenish all that it's eaten in mass, providing new growth, new berries, and everything to those that it had incidentally taken from. A circle of ecology, if you would. I wish the tree on its stomach was a little bit more, not just the regular trees that you would see around here and there. I wanted, like, give me a wisteria. Give me something a little bit more oompha, you know what I mean? Like, something that has more significance visually, and maybe I'm missing something. It looks like just a regular old tree to me, one of the models that you'd see in the game, so it doesn't feel like that tree has significance itself, which is kind of fine at the same time. I mean, the berries that come off of that Snorlax at that point, he eats so many different berries, so many different seeds, who's to say it has to be a special tree? It could be just your average tree because of all the different berries. Maybe it was a splice where it is a single tree that has all of the berries, which would make sense for what its special move does with Gmax Replenish. Also, if you don't know what tree splicing is, basically it's when you take, like, let's say an apple and then, I don't know, an orange tree. I don't know how splicing would actually work in this case, but you would literally cut the trees, grow them together from their, like, sapling forms, and as they grow, the tree would bear fruit from both types of trees. There was a guy that did, like, 38 different trees together or something, and that tree will never, ever reproduce into another tree. But it grows all these different types of fruits. I don't know how effective it is at it and what that does to the soil there, because you have to get those nutrients from somewhere, and does it cause other fruits to taste a little bit more muddled with each other? Like, will I get a pear and it'll taste like a... Strawberries don't grow on trees. I almost just said strawberries and made a fool of myself, but I think you get the idea. So how about we move on and talk about its ability to just eat everything and anything that it wants to, and how we can translate that to real life. Snorlax is able to eat muck without any issue whatsoever, as we previously stated. It tastes like just a bit of spice on the tongue for our Snorlax here. Muck is kept alive through eating and being a cesspool for bacteria. Muck is a living biohazard, leaking toxins that instantly kill all plant life it touches, as per the Pokédex. Even it being in close proximity to plants will cause them to wilt and die. Extreme caution is advised in avoiding any contact with this Pokemon, as an accidental brush-up can lead to severe sickness. The effects of this Pokemon can leave the landscape barren for 3 years. It will readily consume nearly any waste or refuse generated by people and Pokemon alike. Muck's body produces a powerful odor that can even cause fainting. While I did say it earlier, Grimer specifically is the one that says if it runs out of bacteria, it dies. I assume that it's applicable to Muck as well, as, again, it is living bacteria in sludgy form. And in addition, I assume this would also be applicable to Muck, but Grimer can be split apart to create more Grimer. And if they recombine, they create new diseases. Do you realize how terrifying that actually is? There's already so many issues when it comes to bacteria and having medicine to fight it. Now we have a Pokemon that can just split apart, be a cesspool for bacteria, then recombine. That... You have no choice but to have free healthcare in the world of Pokemon when that thing exists. Otherwise, everyone's dead. Because at some point, antibiotics and everything else are gonna stop working, just like they do in real life. I'm not gonna go off on a huge tangent on that, but like, not even remotely kidding, there's not medicine that is strong enough to continually be used to fight against a creature like this. Yet, for some reason, despite all of this, despite the fact that if you were to eat Muck and somehow survive, you would be throwing off your internal bacteria, because yes, you have good bacteria in your body, and if they are given the chance to escape from the natural order of your body, they will try to kill you. They are opportunistic. Meanwhile, external bacteria will give them that opportunity while also trying to take advantage of your body for itself, not yourself, against you. You are not a part of the equation. It will try to kill you. That is what these bacteria will do. And yet, again, somehow, Snorlax can consume it like nothing. Why? Why can Snorlax do this? We could chalk it up to pure chance, but that's not good enough for me, and it shouldn't be good enough for you. We could chalk it up to the idea that since it keeps eating food that's bad for it, it has gained an immunity to it all, or at least a tolerance. It's like eating dirt as a kid. Munchlax ate everything that it could get its hands on after all. So let's talk about Munchlax. Munchlax tends to store food in its long fur, although it sometimes forgets about its hidden food. Its stomach allows it to eat nearly anything, even rotten food, and they are indifferent to flavor. It can also eat many servings of food at a time without chewing and rarely gets full. It eats the most food of any Pokemon besides its evolution Snorlax, and they better not change that ever. Munchlax tends to raid villages for food intended to be thrown away. Our little dumpster diving Munchlax right there. So, in some capacity, it has gained some level of immunity to toxins by the time it evolves. But the problem still remains. Why can't it eat muck? Munchlax is not out here eating muck. Yes, you can eat rotten food. Yes, you can have some level of diseases brought to you. But it is explicitly stated that Muck and Grimer create new diseases constantly. Not every disease that you're going to find in the world can be derived from rotted, moldy food. There's like a list of probably thousands, but not all of them. and definitely not all ones that are related to each other between molded food and this bacteria that this sludge has. In addition, if you were to argue that, oh, maybe it did eat some grime or muck, the problem here is that our bodies need time to create antibodies, needing to be able to experience a bacteria for the first time, consume it, and then analyze it for how to make these antibodies and fight your current illness. Basically, if you were to add like 300 different viruses or bacteria into your body that shouldn't be there, how is your body supposed to fight that and survive? It really shouldn't. As an add to that, this also all helps though for when the next time your body would experience the bacteria or virus a second time, making it so that you wouldn't become sick, or at least not as sick as you did the first time. Now, of course, this is an oversimplification of how our bodies counteract us getting sick. There are other ways that your body helps fight sickness. It raises your temperature, that's why you get a fever. Sometimes you just do not eat, sometimes you are forced to sleep. It is also that your body conserves energy because it is fighting something. In addition to, so many other things, as different viruses or bacteria cause different symptoms, whether that be because your body is fighting it or it's because the actual problem causer is causing these symptoms to appear. Which you're also supposed to eat a bunch of vitamins, well, depending, to fuel the body with what it needs. I'm not a doctor. I do not recommend just listening to me wholly on that. Talk to your doctor, talk to a professional regarding it, because you don't want to fuel the bacteria or virus. You want to fuel your body with the proper necessary tools to keep you alive and fight these invaders. But I just said something that makes a little too much sense. Your body fights the sickness and you sleep. You sleep. Yes, think of every single time that you have gone to sleep when you were sick. You needed rest. So to support my claim, I present to you both science and a personal anecdote of mine before we explain Snorlax even deeper, as we now have our answer, which was staring us in the face the whole time. The following is from the Sleep Foundation. Overeating can interfere with normal sleep. After a big meal, the body has to devote energy to the digestive process, which typically takes several hours. But digestion usually slows during sleep, putting your body's normal sleep process at odds with the stomach's need for digestion. This may explain why studies have found increased sleep disruptions after eating close to bedtime. So it really goes both ways. Eating a meal too close to bedtime can cause disruptions to sleep, but eating a large amount of food can also cause your body to devote energy to breaking down and storing the energy from food long term, thus making you sleepy. It is not the turkey, it is the sheer number of calories that you are eating. And for my personal anecdote with this, and where I started to really tie together Snorlax and its secret power through sleep, I have the time from when I ate a chip from the One Chip Challenge. The One Chip Challenge is an internet challenge in which participants had to eat one extremely spicy Pocky Carolina Reaper chip and avoid eating or drinking anything afterwards. The thing comes in a coffin, and it's by itself, it's literally just one chip to really sell the point of all of this home. So, allow me to give you my anecdotes. If you don't know what an anecdote is, it is a story. And this was when I had last visited my family. I went home, and in doing so, my sister had one of these chips. I don't remember what color box it was. It might have been yellow. I don't really know. All I know is that she had this, and she had it for a year, just sitting there perfectly packaged. And she said, oh, you can't eat it. Oh, you can't eat it. You won't be able to handle it. And I'm a stubborn individual. Let's just put it out that way. You should know this by now. I put out an 8-hour video about the full family tree of Pokemon. I eventually had that mental, you can't tell me what to do. I do what I want. And you can't tell me I can't do something when I know I can moment. In doing so, in that moment, I grabbed the coffin, ripped it open, and proceeded to grab the chip and start to tear the plastic. And I hear her and my mom go, wait. And I paused. They pulled out their phones and they started recording. And they go, okay, go for it. I proceed to take it, throw the whole chip in my mouth, bite, crunch, chew, swallow. And I go, done. And they just stared at me. They're like, uh-oh. And I go, that's fine. Are you sure? Oh, okay. About 3 minutes pass, and I start to feel, and I start to go, hey, how long am I supposed to do this challenge for? They go, as long as you can, I guess. 30 minutes. And I go, okay. 5 minutes pass, and I'm starting to sweat. And I go, oh no, I need milk. Mind you, I'm lactose intolerant. Like, very lactose intolerant. I've stopped drinking as much dairy as of late, and I feel less bloated. It is nice. But, back to the story. I am looking at them, and my mom goes, go get your brother some milk. She comes back, hands me a nice glass of milk. Nice, cold glass of milk. And, in that moment, I start drinking a little bit. And I'm sipping, and I'm going, and I feel it. I feel the burning sensations on my tongue. I can feel my mouth starting to turn into the devil's home itself as fire begins to burn, and it's not enough. And I'm sticking my tongue into the milk to try and stop it, and it's not good enough. And no, you should not be drinking milk because it coats the tongue in whatever it is. It coats the tongue, and then the spices are trapped on your tongue. So I made a mistake number one, right? Or technically mistake number 2 right there. I shouldn't have eaten the trip. Now, I go, I need more. And she's about to go and grab me it. I walk past her, open the fridge, grab the half jug of milk, slam it on the counter, and pour, drink, pour, drink, pour, drink, pour, drink, pour, drink, milk, cup of milk, in my stomach it goes, and it just keeps going. I do not stop, and I drink half a gallon of milk, half a freaking gallon of milk. I then proceed to say, this is not enough. I am dying. I'm silent the entire time, and anybody who knows me in my personal life, anybody who has been there for the streams, knows I don't shut up. So I walk over, open the fridge, grab the chocolate milk next, a quart of chocolate milk, and I start to pour that, and I'm like, haha, and I start to drink it, and I get a cup in, pour a little bit more, and as soon as I bring the cup to my mouth, my body goes, no, and I feel it lurch, and I'm like, oh no, I can't drink anymore. My stomach says no. My stomach says if I put any more into it, it will force me to vomit. I then hear my grandmother, Lover, from the room across the house, and she goes, is it really that bad? And I yell back, when am I ever quiet? That should tell you everything you need to know. And I proceed to go back to sticking my tongue back into the milk, and I can feel my gag reflex now. I can feel it all as that moment is coming back to my brain, and I'm trying not to gag. I'm trying not to vomit, because if I do, it will be absolute heck on earth. Without a doubt in my mind, I will hit the ground unhappy. So, I finish the drink eventually, put water in the glass, and I'm still holding back the gag reflex. Now, after a while, everything subsides. 20 minutes. It's all done and over with. And I'm shaking. I am freezing cold. My body, I could feel it shutting down. I am tired, and I look at my youngest sister, and I go, I need a blanket. I need to lay down. And she goes, you need a blanket? And she's 6 years old at the time. So she was just laughing and had no idea how much pain I was in. And I'm like, yeah, I need a blanket. So I walk over to the couch. I lay down and I fall asleep. And that was that. And I got curious about why I got cold. Why did I go through that experience and feel my body shutting down, forcing me to be asleep, and why was I feeling so cold? The answer is simply because my body was trying to protect me and use all the energy it can to process this spice I put in my body. My body was trying to catalyze the capsaicin and get rid of it, break it down so that it doesn't hurt me anymore. And that is what explains why Snorlax sleeps so much. Snorlax can literally eat anything it wants, and as long as it sleeps, its body is using all of its energy to process the food, ensuring that Snorlax doesn't die from its eating habits. This would explain so much about the latent power inside of it, because it's simply storing every single calorie it processes as energy for later, or more simply, as fat. But how much fat does it have? Especially as it's still using some of those calories to process these negative things it's putting in its body to keep itself safe. To answer that question, let's first define fat and the science behind it according to the National Institute of Health. Adipose fat cells are specialized for the storage of energy in the form of triglycerides, but research in the latest few decades has shown that fat cells also play a critical role in sensing and responding to changes in systematic energy balance. White fat cells secrete important hormone-like molecules such as leptin, adiponectin, and adipsin to influence processes such as food intake, insulin sensitivity, and insulin secretion. Brown fat, on the other hand, dissipates chemical energy in the form of heat, thereby defending against hypothermia, obesity, and diabetes. I somehow have never questioned if Snorlax has diabetes or not. But ultimately, Snorlax is really utilizing its fat to the highest ability. But let's not stop there, because you might be asking, where does it get all this energy from? Or the question that should be paired with it, how many calories does Snorlax need to live? These questions are going to help us figure those answers out and figure out just how much energy Snorlax needs to store for its massive attacks at minimum. Now, there's going to be a very rough estimate, but it will give us a ballpark answer. I will be using what is known as a maintenance calorie calculator. This tells us how many calories we need to maintain our daily lifestyle and weight. So for myself, I am using Mayo Clinic to help me with this, as I'm an individual who is very active. I exercise 3 to 4 days a week. I use a lot of energy. I do have a couple of other factors that I need to include, including my age, 25, my weight at 185, and my height at 5'6", because I can't put 5'5.5". Now, as such, it estimates that in order to maintain my weight, the amount of calories calculated to the nearest 50 calories, as long as I have a active lifestyle, is 2,750 calories. Again, that is to maintain my weight and my muscle mass, because your boy has some solid muscle here, and I'm complimented on it, which feels really good. Quick tangent, I went to the gas station the other day, and I was holding, like, big old things of, like, wood, like 2 packs of them, so I was up like this, and the dude at the counter looked at me as I was walking away and went, "Dude, you are ripped, bro." And I, like, paused, because that was one of the first times a stranger gave me that compliment in person. I've had it online quite a few times, in comments or in live streams, but this is one of the few times someone has done that to me face-to-face in person, and that was a complete stranger, and I went, "Thank you." And he's like, "I'm not to be awkward or anything." I'm like, "No, I get it. Thank you. I do appreciate it." Like, it felt good. It felt good. I take pride in my muscles. But back to Snorlax. Let's put in Snorlax's information. 6'11", 1,014 pounds, and we don't know how old they are, so we'll just go with 20 years old. There's no sound reasoning behind this other than the idea that bears can live up to 20 years old in the wild, longer if they're in captivity, so, you know, estimates and all that. Also, Snorlax does have a sedentary lifestyle, meaning that they have little to no exercise, no running around and using pulverizing pancake, or the 2 minutes that a battle happens does not count, and neither does walking to the fridge count as exercise, as it's not raising its base heart rate to elevated levels. Unless Snorlax is getting really excited for that New York style cheesecake. So, in order for Snorlax to maintain its weight, it has to eat 6,986 calories a day. But how many calories does it actually eat? Let's use an apple, as it's the symbol for leftovers, which I at least associate with Snorlax, and we see Snorlax eating quite often. According to the FDA, An 8-ounce apple, half pound in weight, has 130 calories. Let's round the daily intake of Snorlax to 900 pounds, as the Pokédex often states. Meaning that on average, Snorlax could eat 1,800 apples a day, amounting to 234,000 calories. Mind you, Snorlax does eat more than just apples. It will eat meat and more, meaning it could intake far more calories than this. A pound of fat contains about 3,500 calories, meaning if we take out the roughly 7,000 calories it needs for daily maintenance from that total of 234,000 and divide it by 3,500, we have 64.85 pounds of whatever gained a day on average. Once again, though, I do want to state this is a rough estimate, but that's 64.85 pounds a day on average. Again, assuming it is just the apples, and it's not. All of this is just energy that is stored into fat and used for emergency situations such as its Z-move, or that energy which expands further when it Gigantamaxes. Alternatively, though, that energy internalizes, and through the power of sleep, it attracts other Pokemon, such as through the Pokemon Sleep mobile game, as we've talked about. The more Snorlax eats, the greater it grows in size, the more Pokemon come to it. This goes as far as including Pokemon that are normally opposed to each other now coming together in a form of peace. This is a phenomenon that is still being studied through the assistance of Professor Neroli, but there is one potential explanation for it. There is some claim that when you are around loved ones, when you feel safe and comforted, your brain releases chemicals like serotonin and dopamine, which can drive happier feelings and allow for deeper sleep. Though, I couldn't find a source that is fully reliable to this, so take that with a grain of salt. I mean, I've experienced it, you've probably experienced it. I mean, whether that be with a loved one that you're in a relationship with, whether that be with your mother when you were a child, or even when you just cuddle up with a pet on the couch. You feel cozy, you feel happy, and those chemicals release, and you start to feel sleepy, and lights out. Very happy lights out. But if Snorlax is emitting a snoozy power and putting Pokemon to sleep, then it could be a great place for Pokemon to gather for important sleep necessary for their energy output and overall health. Simply put, Snorlax's power is derived from all the sleeping that it does, allowing it to conserve energy, fight off disease, attract other Pokemon, and hold an immense amount of power within it for emergency use. All the same as our own bodies, for the most part, really. Snorlax is, without a doubt, one of my favorite Pokemon, probably within the top 25, I'd want to say. So, I'd at least put Snorlax in the A class, maybe S tier. Honestly, every single time I see Snorlax, I smile, I'm happy, I love him. You know what? Put him in S tier, and I approve of Snorlax. So, thank you for watching. If you would like to try and influence what the next Pokemon that I will rate is, become a member and join the Discord discussion for the members of the channel or the Patreon, as December will be rolling in, and the plan is to have members of the channel discuss together what Pokemon should be rated next, as you all come to a democratic agreement. You can become a member for as little as $3, but if you cannot, I appreciate you watching to begin with. It means the world to me, and I can never truly ask for more. So, with that then, as always, thank you so much for watching. Don't do anything I want to do. Don't do anything I would do. Please be nice to each other. I love you, and I'll see you next time. Bye!